I think that's a little brighter. I should have gave you I got one of those little lights that clip on. That's good for travel. It works. It works well too.
Like a book light?
No, it's meant for recording, but it's just literally you just charge it and then you just clip it on your computer and it just provides a light.
This won't cut it.
Hmm. Actually, that might help.
Welcome to the Now podcast. This is episode 12, and today Courtney and I are super excited to introduce Matt Plumer. He is a financial coach who's transformed his own life and now helps others do the same. So from shredding over 100 pounds to breaking free from some fairly destructive addictions to alcohol and gambling and smoking, and to paying off over $550,000 in debt, Matt's journey is one of resilience and success. He's dedicated to guiding real estate agents and entrepreneurs towards financial freedom through the implementation of Profit First. And he's the creator of the Wealth Method, and also just recently launched a coaching group called the Wealth Department. So Courtney and I love stories of resilience and overcoming some significant obstacles. We are very excited to welcome Matt Plumer.
Hey,
Woo.
thanks, ladies. Thanks, Michelle.
Welcome.
Welcome. So,
Yeah.
I kind of gave our audience a little bit of a exciting introduction on you, but just give us a couple more minutes on who Matt is and where he was and where he is now.
Yeah, it's, everyone always asks, like, how did you do it? Right? How did you lose 100 pounds, or how did you become sober, or whatever the transformation is. And I always like to go back, not like to the beginning, but like you almost have to uncover, like, how did you get to the place where you needed to make the decision? Right. I mean, I talk about any type of transformations in a 3-step process: awareness, decision, and intentionality. And like taking people to that awareness moment was for me almost 12 years ago, sitting on a marriage counselor's couch at 300 pounds, alcoholic, addictive sports gambler, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and not knowing we were $500,000 in debt. I knew all of the other stuff. I just had no idea we were in debt. And so, being asked that very pivotal question that our counselor asked me that day was, could you go 90 days without a drink? Not your life. Could you go 90 days? And, my reaction was external. It wasn't internal, right? It was like, hey, Melinda will still be this, and the job will still be that. And doesn't matter if I go do this. And he was like, well, based on that response, you've got 12 months or you're going to be dead, divorced, and jail or broke. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I started looking internal versus external. I was like, what are the things that I could do that were small enough that I could do it? And I could replace a meal, a drive-through meal with a meal replacement shake. I could take a few steps instead of going into the gym, right? Or sitting on the couch. And I just stacked up those small wins long enough to lose some weight, saw some victories on the scale, which gave me some encouragement to not drink as much, which gave me some encouragement to not drink, which gave me some encouragement to not, or gave me the courage to not, place any more bets. And a decade or a year later, 12 months, 100 pounds, alcohol free, smoking free, gambling free, sober. And then that's when we figured out we were $500,000 in debt. And so like, how did you pay off? I was like, I just did the stuff that I did, right? No one wakes up and says, I'm going to lose 100 pounds, right? They're like, hey, how can I get from, that's too big of a goal. It's too big of a target, I should say, to attack on a daily basis. Same thing with when I have my discovery calls with my coaching clients. They're like, hey, I owe the government 50 grand. I owe, MasterCard this, I owe Amex this, and whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. Right? We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to fix it overnight. But can you lose 10 pounds 10 times? can you go and pay off $50 a day out of a checking account towards an American Express? We're not solving the world's problem, but can we start to build a habit that can compound over time? 12 years later, we don't have any of the consumer debt, and we've relocated successfully and have an online coaching business that allows us to live in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
So so you look back and you're like, everybody wants that quick bullet, but it's been 12 years of doing the same thing for a decade plus.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can relate to that, Matt. My husband and I were in similar situations about 12 years ago too, and we got connected with Dave Ramsey's program, did the financial piece, paid off all of our debt. We're able to save our business because we were in construction and real estate during the recession. So what you're saying really resonates with me. And obviously it sounds like you're a fan of Ramsey's principles.
Sure, 100%.
I would imagine. Yeah. I'll actually be at the EntreLeadership Summit in a couple of weeks. I don't know if you're going.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. It's that wasn't on the radar screen, or that wasn't on my bingo card for the year, but those principles we went through Financial Peace University, and for the couples that are out there, right? The spouses that are out there, the heel marks are still on Loudoun County Parkway from me dragging Melinda to Financial Peace. However, we walked side by side, and it's so important. She was just like, I don't want to do a budget, or I don't understand why we have to do it. We can just go do this. And I'm like, hey, we thought the same way a year ago when we were trying to fight alcoholism and gambling and stuff, and we needed people and we needed a framework. And that was our framework in 2014. And so many people aren't willing to slow down enough to have the conversations with their spouse or their partner, their business partner, to just walk and encourage and walk alongside. It's like, I don't need you to listen to the Dave Ramsey show 3 hours a day, but I do need you to show up with me at church at 11 o'clock on Sundays for the next 9 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we just applied those things, that they talk about in AA around not staying sober for your life. Like, we just have to stay sober for the next 2 days, or the next, 2 hours, or the next Friday, or the next afternoon, right? We just have to get there. And, you do that, you take enough steps that way, you'll walk away from your debt, or you'll run away from eventually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Well, and I think there's value in sacrificing in the short term for the benefit of the long term. And a lot of people don't want to sacrifice these days. And I can tell you it's so much more rewarding. I mean, Michelle and her husband have gone through it as well. And so I think it's a great value in everything that you're saying. I mean, what do you think, Michelle?
I think that, I was running away from it too, because I didn't really think that we needed to do it. Courtney was talking about it. The backbone of our mission with Twist Realty Group is healthy home ownership. So it was one of those things where as part of being on the leadership team, going through the actual process was important for me to understand. My husband was like, why are we doing this? But we made it fun. We were like, okay, this will be our date night. And we went through it, and boy, were we wrong about everything. And we walked away debt free, and just massive goals for our retirement, which we thought we had locked in. I mean, we just thought we were doing it all right, which we were doing most of it right. But anyways, we're definitely fans of the Ramsey program for sure. That said, we're all aligned in our thinking specific to debt. But tell us a little bit about, Courtney and I read the Profit First book. My question to you is that the actual method that you use to help folks, or is it something different?
Yeah. And so the bridge of, hey, how did you go from the debt-free scream of paying off all that money to now being a financial coach for real estate agents? Courtney, you mentioned that sacrifice, right? We put so much downward pressure on the spending, and we put as much information or as much pressure on the increase of income as we could. However, we didn't have a way to go make $250,000. We could make 150, we could make 200, but there was nothing in our world at that time in 2017, going into 2017, that was like, we got to go make that. We worked so hard to get to zero.
Yes.
How do we get to 10 million?
Right.
And so, it opened my eyes to the world of real estate. And so I had gone through all of this, right? All of the addiction, all of the debt. I get my real estate license. I have my first closing in the first 90 days. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
I go, hey, what am I going to do with this $10,000 that's about ready to hit my bank account? And I was just like, okay. Now I did not know Profit First at the time. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to bring some of this home. I had read or listened to EntreLeadership. I see it over your shoulder there. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay myself 50%. I'm going to put 25% away from taxes, because that's what I've heard Dave say 400 times. And this was my only exposure to it. And I knew I was in a brokerage on a team that encouraged coaching. I said, I'm going to take the other 25%. I'm going to go get a coach or get a group coaching program or something. And so I was talking with real estate agents in my office, and I was like, hey, if 10 grand came in and hit your bank account, what would you do with it? And I didn't hear go buy real estate or go invest. I heard pay last year's taxes and next month's car note. And I said, this is going to be, real estate will be the vehicle for me to go earn an income, but I'm going to go impact the real estate industry because I'm going to go teach them this framework. And then I got exposed to Profit First, a couple of years later when Mike's book dropped. And so I was like, this is perfect. This is actually this is the map combined with the Ramsey principles. And I was like, okay, how can I now blend this to Matt's voice using weight loss and sobriety and our transformation, our marriage and our spiritual transformation. And now that I'm making $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 selling real estate, how can I go and take those skills and turn that into a business? Because Melinda and I started asking ourselves bigger questions. Why do we live where we live? Because we don't have any debt. We have money, but we have no debt. I have a way to make money. But if I leave Northern Virginia, that's zero. So I'm like, hey, what if I actually go lean into this and turn and be a coach for agents that I can stare into a camera and serve them? And Profit First is part of the framework that I do coach people through. Because most real estate agents, as I was interviewing, thousands of conversations now, hundreds of financial transformations later, we uncovered the things that cause the most stress and anxieties: inconsistent income and financial disorganization. And Profit First helps solve part of that disorganization.
Yeah, I agree. I think we used it for about a year or two, and then I guess we simply outgrew it. We hired a CFO and had some other systems in place that we utilized in lieu of it. But I think it is a great way just to bring clarity around your spending, because I think so many of us that are in sales are good at making money, but we kind of blow and go. We blow and go. We don't really pay attention, and we're like, oh, that's for marketing. Maybe that's just how I was, but I think there's definitely value.
First, in the book, the ebook that I wrote, the How to Create Stress-Free Wealth, right? The 5 financial mistakes that agents make. One of the mistakes is not understanding the path of money. And that when we'll use Michelle as an example, when Michelle goes and sells a house, too many real estate agents think they make that amount of money. When in fact, Michelle Real Estate makes that money. And then what does Michelle actually receive from that money? And what does the government need? And how much does your business is what's left is forced to run on, versus the $10,000 at the top, because it is always marketing, it's ads, it's admin, it's staff, it's this, it's that. And then us, the business owner, always just get whatever's left. And then the government never gets their money. So now it's this constant chase, because Real estate agents just don't make as much as they think. And entrepreneurs don't make as much as they think.
Mm-hmm.
We all spend more than we care to admit.
Mm-hmm.
Even Dave spends more than he cares to admit. I promise you. Right?
Yes.
Which leads us to be behind on taxes and or retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And it always just keeps us on the hamster wheel. It keeps us on the transaction treadmill. Because the first mistake that agents make is they don't know how they're going to stop selling real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I walk them through that journey inside of the ebook and inside of the wealth method, or inside of the wealth department where we talk about the wealth method.
The wealth method, was that born from, you taking those two methods that you applied from Ramsey and Mike's book? Did you marry those and come up with that, or?
Yeah. So the wealth method is the last 12 years of transformation, where, W is wisdom, right? We have to have wise counsel in our lives. Friends, partners, spouses, coaches, mentors. We need wise counsel, and we need to take the information. Information's free.
Mm-hmm.
Proximity is what costs money, right? We can all listen to Dave Ramsey. We can all listen to Matt on Instagram and YouTube. We can listen to Alex Ramosi. We can listen to our owners, right? We can listen to people. Information's free. The cost of doing business is the access and the proximity, mm-hmm. right? And so where are you going to get that wise counsel, and how are you going to implement it? Mm-hmm. Right? That wise counsel of understanding where you are and where do you want to go? How are you going to stop selling real estate? No, most agents don't have that answer. Right? Let alone, like, they don't know where their next deal's coming from. The average doesn't know where the next deal's coming from, let alone how are they going to stop selling real estate a decade from now or whenever it is. Mm-hmm. So I always encourage people, when is your throw the phone in the ocean moment? When is it? Like, you fly to Cabo, that's where Michelle and I met. You fly to Cabo, mm-hmm. and you stay in the penthouse and you chuck that thing in the Sea of Cortez, and it's over. You don't need it anymore.
So funny.
Right? And so what is your odds? And then we turn around, look back, how do we get there? And most people are actually closer than they think, but they don't have a plan, so they sell real estate until
80.
80, yeah.
Or if they make it, they literally sell it until the day they die, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the wisdom, right? E is earn. You got to make some money, mm-hmm. right? You have to go make money, because as we do a budget and we have conversations with our spouse, right? The only way we can lose weight, when I say the only way we can lose weight, I'll ask you, what's the only way we can lose weight?
Eat less.
Okay.
I say just making your mind up to do it and being dedicated and committed to whatever it is. If it's eating healthy, exercising, a combination of both, investing in a coach, whatever, like, you have to be committed.
Yeah. Most people say, I have to burn more than I eat, which is different than eating less than you burn. Right? And so most people, when they want to go attack this money, it's just, I'll just go make more. Well, if you don't have a plan for the calories, if you don't have a plan for the $20,000 that's coming in, you got no shot. You can't sell enough real estate. Right? Just like if you don't have a grocery list and you don't have a calorie counter, or you don't have a macro counter or whatever, it doesn't matter how many miles you run.
Right.
You can't outrun your fork. Right? And so as we go through this, and you do have to.
That's funny.
I like that.
I did too. That was a good
your fork, right? Yeah. And you can't sell enough house. You can't sell enough houses, right? Because if you are trying to get from one side of the lake to the other, and you have holes in your boat, does it matter how fast you paddle?
No.
And so when we're going through this we need to earn more or earn consistently. But we have to have a plan of what we're going to do with that money before it even hits our bank account. which and so budgeting and the path of money is all part of the earn portion of the wealth method. Like when 10 grand comes in, what do we do with it before it even comes in?
Right.
A is accumulate. Now, right? Now, I mean, after all these conversations, it still happens, right? Michelle has 3 closings. Michelle has 3 closings. Michelle has 2 closings. Michelle has 1 closing. Michelle has 3 closings. Michelle has 0, 0, 0. It happens. So as we go through the accumulate, how can we earn money this month of April as this recording, and take that money and stretch it to July? Every real estate agent is amazing March through October.
Mm-hmm.
They're awesome. Every listing sells, every buyer goes under contract, everything closes. It's awesome. The weather's good, everybody's got great tans, and then winter comes. And 3 months into winter is when you get the notices. Hey, we need to cancel this. Hey, reviewing expenses. Hey, doing this, blah, blah, blah. And nobody has any money come January.
Mm-hmm.
Because they made all of this money for 6 months and they spent all of it. Or even they paid off all of their debt, or they did all of this. They just didn't plan for the future, in the short-term future. So we accumulate in different buckets. We add age to the money.
Mm-hmm.
Make it this month, spend it 2 months later. L is lend/invest. We've got to invest.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter to me what it is. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
There's 1,000 things you can invest in. The 2 most predictable: real estate, stock market.
Mm-hmm.
Pick start with one of those 2. And I always encourage people to start at the stock market because it's a much lower barrier of entry.
Mm-hmm.
You can open up a brokerage account and just start putting $500 a month in there just to start the 10,000 step a day thing, right? What is your 90 days, 90 meetings in 90 days? Go open a brokerage account or go open a savings account and just move $500 in there. We're not worried about interest rate. I don't even care what it's invested in. It doesn't matter. You need to build the habit. Mm-hmm. Then when that thing gets to 20 grand, now we can start talking about, okay, what do we need to do with it? Because now we can invest hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of months, quarters, and years. Now we need a plan. But to start, just go to Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard, open up a brokerage account and just get some money over there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then you can actually have enough space to come back to the W and start having wise counsel with people.
Mm-hmm.
L is, or that was L. T is track. If you don't track it, it doesn't matter. You have to track everything. You have to track everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they're like, even this, yes.
Mm-hmm.
People, and then, everyone asks me, is like, hey, what do I do if I have this amount, or where do I put this money? When in doubt, open an account.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if you don't track it, it doesn't matter. Your date nights do not matter if you don't know how many dates you've gone on this year.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone on 7, which is way less than I anticipated 12 weeks ago when we did our goal planning.
Mm-hmm.
We're off track. All right. Same thing with our money. How often do you track your money? And the H is health. Mm-hmm. And that's health that's over encompassing. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, it's not just how much do you weigh, but I mean, it's also like physical health, mental health, financial health, spiritual health, relational health. Like we've got to check in on all of those buckets. Mm-hmm. And so that's, thousands of conversations led to the, and transformation led to the wealth method.
I love it.
I think what's really great about what we just learned is, like, every time I feel like I talk to people like you, I walk away with action items. Like, I got to do this and I got to do that. So
the bank account set up. Don't worry, Michelle.
Everything in my life is fresh from an entrepreneurial business perspective. So I've gotten things going, but there is certainly room for improvement. So Thank you. And whoever's listening, I hope walked away with a couple of nuggets from just the wealth method. And then tell us about the wealth department before
Yeah. Yeah, the wealth department was created out of a necessity for a few things. One, it was created for, again, a low barrier of entry for someone that, wasn't necessarily 100% committed to a 6 or 12-month coaching program. They were like, oh, or maybe one-on-one coaching didn't fit their calendar or their budget. And so it's a 12-week program that walks through step by step of the heavy lifting, the entry level to set the groundwork so that you can escalate on your journey on your yellow brick road to your Oz, right? It's a starting point for the majority, right? It's a 12-week program. And then if someone raises their hand and they're like, this is amazing, I want to stay in, then there's a monthly subscription that they would just subscribe to. And it's super easy. There's a no sales pitch to it. Do you want a financial transformation? Yes or no? This is your spot. This is where you start. And that's for the majority. I also created it because there was also some significant things. If Michelle was in my one-on-one calendar and she wanted to hit pause on the frequency of calls or the financial commitment to one-on-one coaching, it's an awesome place for people just to hit pause, a little bit of a breather, be a part of a community, add value to a community, because when you teach, you learn. And so when Michelle would say, hey, I'm out of debt, I got all my bank accounts, we're good on one-on-one coaching, I'm like, ask this question, this question, this question. She's like, oh, well, maybe. And I'm like, all right, I'll see you Wednesday at 12 o'clock Pacific. You're going to teach this in the wealth department. And then you're just going to be, and then that's such a great place for people to plug in, learn, and improve their skills, right? It's where they sharpen their axe on a weekly basis. And it's just a huge opportunity for people to plug into a group, to plug into community that's safe. And we're all talking about the same dirty laundry. Inconsistent income, financial stress, right? Disorganization, how to do a budget, and profit first. Like we talk about the things like you read it. This is an incredible book. How many times you read that book and you're like, I'm not doing this. Or I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. It's
the wealth department's the best.
Complex.
Yeah.
I mean, we walk all the way through it. So if you're listening to this, or if you're in your all circle, like it's the number one place to start your financial journey.
I had a question about it. Is it all real estate agents in that program, or is it open? And like, obviously from any, like, is it entrepreneurs?
It's mostly real estate agents. However, and we have, I'd say a dozen members right now. At the recording of this, I mean, I think one's a nurse. There's another person that runs an event company. And so the majority are real estate agents, but there's some W-2 employees with real estate. So like, dual agent or dual career it's a great spot for that. Team agents, great spot to plug into.
Okay.
Right. I mean, the cost is just such a low barrier of entry for the value that you're going to be able to use and implement for decades. Yeah, it's an absolute game changer for those that plug in.
Great. I'm sorry, Courtney, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, where do you go to sign up, Matt?
Thewealthdepartment.com. The Wealth Department, I'll spell it out. Thewealthdepartment.com. It's a checkout page. It's also, I believe, in my link tree on Instagram. So, Coach Matt Plumer on Instagram, DMs there. And, that starts the online dating version of coaching and information, the version 2024. Right. So,
you do like a discovery call with agents first, or what's the process?
Yeah. So I actually have a launch that's a 5-day workshop that's coming up. It's, depending on when this drops, it'll be April 22nd, but that's completely free, right? It's to take those steps, right? To go through, the things that we're going to go through over 5, 6, 7 days. It's a free workshop. And then there's a discovery call after that, right? It's always, hey, let's just sit down. Let's understand where Michelle is, Where does Michelle want to go? What's the easiest way to get there? Majority will be the wealth department, but again, there could also be like, hey, my business is here. I want the attention of one-on-one. I want the proximity of one-on-one. Then totally fine. Or in person, right? I mean, Las Vegas is an incredible destination for husband and wives to come in, fly in for the afternoon or the day or a couple of days, and enjoy some weather. We sit down kneecap to kneecap, and you knock it out in 5 to 7 hours versus 12 weeks.
Awesome.
Michelle's like, yes, I'm coming to Vegas.
I'm just fired up to learn. I mean, the people that just listened to the last 20 plus minutes of you chatting, just your acronym on wealth and what that means, wisdom, earning, accumulate, investing, track, your health, like just those things that you touch upon. And then obviously you have the systems in place to help agents build wealth. And it sounds like it's a great opportunity to get in. And I think anybody that's either new and or seasoned could, look at Courtney, you've been in it for 20 years, and I'm sure you could look back on a time when you were building your business, and we applied that. But prior to that, I'm sure you were like, man, I wish I would have done some of this stuff, right?
Well, yeah. And even still, you have to sometimes reset, or you'll get a little off path. And, we've been doing some of these same principles for over a decade, but it doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes or I go a little backwards and then I need to check myself. And I think that's what I like about what Matt being with the wealth department. There's that level of accountability. There's that community that you have with like-minded individuals. So I think that's
great,
very helpful for people at all levels of their career.
Yep.
Plus, I heard this guy speak in Cabo. So I have a feeling if you don't get in pretty soon, you might miss out, because this guy is amazing. And just not only just what we've heard today, but hearing him speak live, there's a lot more that you can learn from him. And I think we need to take advantage.
Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing, Matt, because,
awesome.
I always feel like it's difficult sometimes to lean into sharing your experience, and helping others for whatever reason. But I mean, it is for me. Courtney will tell you, like, I'm kind of like, I don't want to talk about it, and then I find myself talking to people about my transformation. And it's like, oh, I want to know. And it's like, so keep doing what you're doing. I think it's awesome. You're helping hundreds of people, I'm sure, right now. And it's just gonna grow.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's one of the most exciting meetings that I have looking forward to every single week is pouring into the students that show up with their questions, with their homework done, or the thing from the previous week, and just pouring into them and soaking it up and seeing their eyes unlock, when you walk them through the path of money. Because ultimately, we're in coaching for, right, to either go make money or figure out what to do with it, or how do we go build something different, right? I'm an acronym guy. So like Courtney mentioned reset. I'm going to leave you with two like little bonus acronyms that I think will really help everyone listening to this. You mentioned reset, Courtney. Reflect, evaluate, simplify, establish, time block. Okay. Now that's around goals. That's around planning, right? We talk a little bit about that in that tracking and in the health, right? In the wealth department. But everybody's looking for that system that's going to help them go to the next level, whether it's a lead generation system or a financial system or a relationship system. And system, I believe, stands for save yourself stress, time, energy, and money.
That's good.
And so the wealth method is a system, right? Your lead generation plan, whatever it is a system. And so the more systems that you can stack on top of each other, James Clear talks about it in Atomic Habits. Gary Keller talks about it in The One Thing, like, in the book Tiny Habits. I can't remember the author, J.B. Fogg, I believe. It's just these little things that we stack on top of each other. And as you're going through this and you have that awareness moment, inside of your transformation, whatever transformation you're about ready to go on, know that it's okay to be where you are. It's just not okay to stay there. And as we're working together and we're walking on this journey, whether we're doing it virtually, in person, you're learning from information, or it's live, know that you're only one budget away, and all of this is just math.
On that note, get to thewealthdepartment.com today and check this out. I think that it's obviously been demonstrated in our time together today that it's going to be worth time. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. This was fun.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. Appreciate you.
You can't outrun the fork. Have a wonderful weekend, Matt.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
I know.